15 time-saving photography tips to help take better photos. Hi, and a very warm welcome to episode 185, blimey, episode 185 of the Photography Explained podcast. I hope you're well. I'm your host Rick, and in each episode, I explain one photographic thing to you in plain English in less than 27 minutes-ish, without the irrelevant details. I'm a professionally qualified photographer based in England with a lifetime of photographic experience, which I share with you, dear listener, in my podcast. Straight into it, here is the answery bit, and it's a list of 15 things, okay? I won't do the numbering like I normally do, because we don't need that, do we? No, we don't, Rick. Have a plan for what you are going to photograph. Only take interesting photos. Look before you take photos. If I take this photo, will I be bothered to edit it? Camera settings for success. Less gear is more. My good old one photo rule. Okay, the take fewer photos rule if the one photo rule's too much for you. Portfolio swappers. Cull like a pro. Edit only what you need to. The 5-minute edit rule. Speed editing, find your sweet spot. Copy and paste. And really look at your photos and what you have created. Right, that's my list. This is all good stuff. These are things that they can save you loads of time, actually, and they will help you to take better photos. And they don't cost you anything. So what is not to love? They only cost you some time and thought, so a little bit of brain power, but hey, we should have some of that spare, shouldn't we? Thinking's good for the brain. Right, I'm going to go through them one by one. 1. Have a plan for what you're going to photograph. Now, I used to be an expert in the rocking up at a place and just wandering around trying to find something to photograph. No, that's what I used to do. Now, there's nothing wrong with this, and I still love doing it, and I love the spontaneity of discovering a new place. I shouldn't put spontaneity in the script because it's a struggle to say it. So I don't want to kill this joy completely, but when I go out wandering, I do have a plan. I've got a rough idea of what I'll be looking for, and that does help. So create your own plan. Have things in mind that you're looking to capture, or have a plan for where you're going and what you're going to look at. But have a plan. And have a plan for how many great photos you want. My plan for every time I go out to take photos is in number 10. Number 2, why you should only take interesting photos. Just having this thought in mind will stop you from taking photos that are, well, not interesting. I know I've done this. I've taken photos more times than I care to admit that I shouldn't have done because they were boring. So many times when I get home and look at them in Lightroom, I look at photos and I ask myself, why did you take that photo, Rick? It's rubbish. And then I'd probably just delete it, which is a complete waste of my time and, let's be honest now, the planet's resources, so we shouldn't be doing this. No, find interesting things to photograph and you will likely create more interesting photos. Now, the main subject needs to be interesting, and if it's not, what chance have you got? So take photos of interesting things and try to find interesting light. Study the light and determine what it's doing in a composition. Photography, after all, is drawing with light, isn't it? So find and use interesting light, and this will, well, it could transform your photos. I said in my script it will transform your photos, but you're not guaranteed to find interesting light every time you go out, are you? Unfortunately, if only. Number 3, look, and look again before you take a photo. Yep, a lot of looking, isn't it? I look a lot, I have to say. So look around before you take a photo. Don't take a load of photos of something and then try to find the good one later in post-processing. I spent years doing this. Now I wander around looking for the best composition before I take a photo. And I quite often leave my camera in my bag until I find something interesting. But once I've found something interesting, I will explore that more to find the best possible composition. I will also consider the light, the weather, things around that can contribute to a photo, and how they might work best together. I'll explore different angles, different views, and different compositions. And I'll study the most important elements in a photo and how they relate to each other. And only once I've done that will I raise my camera to my eye and begin to refine a composition. Oh no, I still don't take a photo. I've still got more looking to do. And for the composition, I use the viewfinder and the LCD screen. And I tend to use the rule of thirds to help me. So I want to get everything level and vertical in camera. So get the composition as good as I can do. Keep on checking, keep on looking, and then I'm good to go. And this doesn't have to take a long time, although it might sound like it. Now, this can be a quick process with thought and practice, but practice is the key here. So I'm not spending endless amounts of time walking around. I'm walking and I'm looking all the time. And when I find something, I hone in on that, and then I find the good thing that I want to capture. And this leads me on nicely to the next point, which is this. If I take this photo, will I be bothered to edit it? This is such a great question. Now, when you return to wherever you edit your photos, will you look at a photo and will you just move on to something else? Will you say to yourself, I can't be bothered to edit this? To start this thought process, look at the photos you've taken previously and work out how many of them have never been edited. And don't worry, I've got hundreds if not thousands of rubbish photos I've never edited, and I've not had the conviction to delete them either, which is a shame. I've deleted quite a lot, but there's still rubbish there. We all do it. We just need to learn from it and stop doing it in the future. Have a look and think to yourself, can you stop doing this? I did, and it was a wake-up call for me because there are thousands of photos I've never edited. The problem's this. If you got thousands of rubbish photos, it's really hard finding the good ones, isn't it? So less rubbish, more good photos. What's not to love? So before you press the shutter button, ask yourself, if I take this photo, will I be bothered to edit it? Right, let's move on. Camera settings to get great photos, point 5. You need to get the exposure bang on, get the focus point right, and get what you want in a photo sharp and what you don't want in a photo sharp. Well, that'd be not sharp, won't it? Do all this when you take a photo and it will save you time editing. Get this stuff wrong and you're creating work for yourself. And we shouldn't be getting things wrong these days. We should be getting all this technical stuff bang on. And if you want a blurry background, do it when you take the photo. Don't plan to add the effect afterwards. It's much, much quicker to do that. And use a camera mode that will help you. No, it doesn't have to be manual mode. You don't have to use manual mode. I use AV mode most of the time because that's the mode that works for me. And if you find that you're using a higher ISO and you're getting noisy photos that need sorting and editing, stop using a high ISO. Simple, isn't it? Now, if you need to use longer shutter speeds, get a tripod. I take all my photos with my camera on a tripod anyway, but that's just how I work. Think about what you're doing when you're editing your photos. Are there any things you do in editing that could have been eliminated when you took the photos? And I include taking rubbish photos in that. Great image quality begins with great image capture. So get everything right in camera and you're off to a strong start. Number 6, photography gear, why less is more. Much more. Yes, really. I have less gear now than ever. Apart from when I bought my first camera, that is. I usually carry one camera body, 2 lenses, my tripod, and a few essential accessories in a small backpack. And that's all I use, to be honest. Why do I keep on saying to be honest? Must stop doing that. See, I used to have a massive bag full of gear, of which I probably used, 10% of it at a push. I had 2 camera bodies with me at all times. I had all my lenses and all sorts of other stuff. Now, which do you think's more conducive to taking better photos? A massive bag full of every piece of gear under the sun, or a small bag with the gear that I want and need? Well, put it like that and it's obvious, isn't it? Apart from the load on my back, all that other gear gave me options I could have done without, and that distracted me from the important part, which is finding interesting things to photograph. So ask yourself the question, do you really need all your gear? Do you? Be honest with yourself now. Less is more, dear listener. Less is more. Oh yeah, there's another point on gear. don't use the camera's built-in flash, the one right above the lens, because you'll get awful light. If you need a flash, get an external flash, put it on a bracket, and put it away from the lens. As for me, I don't like using flash. I prefer natural light myself. I really don't know why camera manufacturers put that rubbish flash above the lens, because you shouldn't use it, so they shouldn't put them in. My Canon 6D's not even got one, which is brilliant, because it'd just be another thing that I don't use. Right, number 7, how my one photo rule can help you. Yes, I'm back to my one photo rule. Now, if you want to check out episode 152, titled How My One Photo Rule Will Help You Take Better Photos, you can find out all about it. I'm going to revisit this in a future episode because it's one of the fundamental things that I practice and indeed teach. It's what I do. And my thoughts have developed since I published this episode in March 2023. I'm not going to repeat myself here. Just check out episode 152 wherever you listen to my podcast, or read the script at the website photographyexplainedpodcast.com. Seamless link there, Rick. Nice one. But the basic principle is this. Well, it's take one photo. Of course it is. What else was it going to be? I probably didn't need to tell you that. Now, if I'm talking about a sunrise, I just get one photo. Now, do this and you can actually enjoy golden hour because you're not spending all your time taking photos. So make that your aim when you get there to photograph a sunrise. Aim to get one photo. I challenge you to do it. And when I'm photographing a building, I'll take one photo of the front and then I'll move on to the next composition that I need. I'll say a lot more about this in other episodes. Right, if the one photo rule's too much for you, there's the take fewer photos rule. Yep, you might find it uncomfortable just restricting yourself to one photo. I get that. So how about this one instead? Make a conscious decision to take fewer photos than you would have done. Making this decision, it'll help you start the thought process that leads you to take fewer but better photos. This is a journey, after all, from what we've all been used to doing, and the best way to start this journey is to take fewer photos if taking one photo is too restricting. For now, that is. You'll get there one day just like me. Oh yes, you will. Number 9, portfolio swappers. Always try to take a better photo. I talked in the last episode and in many other episodes about how valuable portfolios are to photographers. I'm not talking about anything fancy here, it's just a collection of your best photos, no more than 20. I need to do an episode all of its own on portfolios, so I've added it to the list when I was writing the script. But very quickly, what do? Well, you're creating a portfolio of your best photos, and it's the best of the best. As to how many, well, I've got online photos with 12 images because I just like 12. It's a nice number. But for the BIPP, the British Institute of Professional Photography, which is my professional body, they ask for 20 photos when you apply to become a member. So I defer to the BIPP and say 20 photos, your best 20 photos, no more. And it can be a challenge getting down to 20 photos. Well, it was a challenge for me getting down to 20 photos, even though a lot of them were rubbish. I just didn't know it. So once you got your 20 photos, the best of the best that you've ever taken, every time you go out and take photos, aim to get one image that can go into your portfolio. Now, to put one in, you're going to have to take one out. So you've got to produce something that's better than what you've already done. It's a brilliant mindset to get into. Cull your photos like a pro. So the fewer photos you take, the easier this is. And if you cull with the aim of getting just one photo to edit out of a load of photos, that helps too. Culling photos is boring and it can take ages. But all you need to do is choose the photos you like the most very quickly and move on. Don't overthink it. Go with your instinct. I'm really quick with culling these days. But then again, I haven't got many photos to cull, have I? Culling photos, it needs to be a quick process. And if you don't delete all the photos you don't choose to edit, then they're always there to go back to. So you're not losing anything other than a bit more of your own time. But I used to spend ages culling my photos, and the problem was I'd taken so many photos. Going back to the example of the building, I'd take a photo of the front of a building, And then I'd take another photo slightly to one side and then to the other. I'd take 5, 6, 7, 8 photos of the front of a building. Now I take one of that, and then I will take one of the front and the side because I need that shot, but there'll only be one of each. And if I have to provide 20 photos for a client, if I could take 20 photos, I've nailed it. That's my aim on every shoot. It doesn't happen, to be honest with you. I'm not that good. I wish I was. Right, 11. Only edit the photos you need to edit. Don't edit every photo. What are you going to do with them? Who are you going to show them to? What's the point? Edit the photos you're going to use. Edit the photos you're going to do something with. Edit the best shots only. And that's if you have to edit more than one photo, that is. Because if you've got this nailed, you've only got one photo to edit. And just imagine how much time that will save you. The 5-minute photo editing rule. A question I get asked a lot is, how long does it take to edit a photo? I don't know how long you take to edit photos, dear listener, and I'm not trying to take away the joy of spending hours editing photos. If that's what you love to do, if that's your thing, then that's obviously fine. But if you feel like you're spending forever editing photos and you're finding this frustrating, do this. Give yourself 5 minutes to edit a photo and see what happens. Now, after the 5 minutes, did the world stop spinning or was everything just fine? Give it a go, see what happens. And then we move on to the next step in the process of saving time editing photos. 13. Speed photo editing. Find your sweet spot. Yep, that's right. So the next step is to edit photos in less than 5 minutes. Now, if you're taking 30 seconds over editing your photos, let me know how you're managing that, because I'd love to. I'm not far off, but if it feels like it's taking forever to edit photos and you're not sure why, give this a go. So we're going to edit photos in less than 5 minutes, and we'll start with 1 minute. And then once you've done that, edit a similar photo, but give yourself 5 minutes. And what's the difference? Have those extra 4 minutes, have they added to the photo? Or did they not make that much difference? Now, pick another photo and give yourself 2 minutes, and then edit a very similar photo and give yourself the full 5 minutes. And do this again for 3 minutes and 4 minutes. And what will this tell you? Well, you might find that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes was enough rather than spending forever. And if you have, fantastic. You've got a new benchmark time to work with. And that can be really helpful when you're editing photos, because no longer will you have that dread of not knowing how long it's going to take to edit a photo. Because if you know that in 2, 3, 4 minutes, we don't have to be precise about this. If you know roughly how long it's going to take you to edit your photos, it can be a less daunting prospect, can't it? Right, 14. How copy and paste make editing photos a breeze. Yep, good old copy and paste. Control-C, Control-V on a PC. On a Mac, it's Command-C, I think Command-V. So how does this save time? Well, I'll tell you, giving you a very practical example. When I'm editing photos of a building, I want the photos to all look similar. They got to hang together as a cohesive set. So for the external shots, I'll start by getting the composition right for all the photos, when I'm editing them that is, with the building level and vertical. Then I make a number of adjustments in the basic panel to the first photo, and then I copy and paste them to all the other photos of the externals. I'll tweak them so they're all correct, and then I'll do the same with the internals, and it saves me loads and loads of time, and the photos look similar. The variances are going to be the light levels and the range of lights and darks in a photo, but all the other stuff can be the same. Contrast, vibrance, stuff like that. It's the same, so the images look like a consistent, cohesive set. Easy for you to say, Rick. So yes, copy and paste are very much friends of mine in a photo editing sense. 15. Really look at your photos and what you've created. So what do you do with your photos when you've edited them? Do you really look at them? And I mean really look at them. Well, now you know you need a portfolio. Hopefully you'll start to do this. And if you've not done it before, this will teach you so much. It's so important to look at your photos critically. I spoke about this in the last episode. We can learn so much from the photos that we have created. So get to it by properly looking at your photos, and I mean properly looking at them. Right, that was the 15 things, so a few more bits for the talky bit. Thinking before taking a photo is a superpower we all need to develop. This is the very frequently recurring theme in this episode, and it makes sense, doesn't it? I used to take loads of photos of the same thing from various angles, and then I'd agonise over which was the best photo later, sat at my computer. Now, this is not what photography is meant to be all about. If we go back in time to the film days, every photo then cost money. We had 36 possible photos in a single roll of film. That was all we had, 36 photos. I mean, I know you could have more than one film, of course you could, but that was how I started off in photography. This is well before the digital days. But you had to pay for the film, and you had to pay for the film to be processed, and you had to pay for the prints to be printed, and you had to wait a week to get it all as well. So every single photo we took back in the film days, it had a cost to it. Not anymore with digital, and no, I'm not saying things were better in the film days, far from it. But with digital cameras and digital photography, things are so different, aren't they? It's easy to get carried away and take loads of photos as it doesn't cost us anymore. Well, it does cost us actually, if only in hard drive or cloud storage space, which ultimately costs money, doesn't it? But getting back to the point, a lot of what I talk about revolves around thinking about the photos that we're taking and being happy accepting that we're only after one or two new photos. Adopting this mindset will help you improve your photography, and if this happens, my work here is done. How utterly splendid! This is how professional photographers work, and you can do the same. I'm talking about being smarter and thinking more. And the one thing I didn't mention in the camera settings bit, use auto white balance and take photos in RAW format, and you got all the adjustments you need. That, to me, is smart working, and I'm not changing the white balance every time the light changes, which I've never done. I've never done it. Okay, think before you share. Now, this was one of the 15 things on my list, but I removed it because I found something much more important. But I'm going to cover it briefly here. Think before you share a photo on social media. Now, I recommend only sharing your very best photos. Why would you want to share anything other than your best photos anyway? Just saying. What if I use my phone to take photos and not a camera? Well, I've said this many times before. I find taking photos with my phone different to taking photos with my camera. I know the different devices, but how I approach taking photos is completely different. But if you've only got a phone, try this. Create a new album, folder, whatever it might be called on your device, and save any serious photos, you know what I mean. Not photos of something you saw in a shop, your cat, your dog, or other animal of choice. No, make a place for your proper photos. And when you're out taking photos, if you see something that you think could make a great photo, do everything I've said and put that one photo in that folder. Yeah, we can adopt this mindset with our mobile devices, no problem. Smartphone cameras can take great photos, but you've still got a bit of work to do, so give this a go and let me know how you get on, dear listener. Right, what do I do? Well, I walk around a lot, don't I? I look a lot, I think, and I try to get one photo and then I can move on. I don't use JPEG format, I take RAW files and I do all the work myself in editing. But I don't spend a lot of time editing photos, even though RAW images look absolutely rubbish straight out of camera. Don't worry, they're meant to. Nope, I edit photos taken with my Canon 6D, but I rarely edit photos taken with my iPhone 15 Pro, which is odd, isn't it? But I just don't. And that's what I do. Right, my survey on phones and cameras. Well, I've set up a survey on the subject and I'd really appreciate it if you completed the survey, which will take no more than 2 minutes to complete. No more than 2 minutes. Just head over to photographyexplainedpodcast.com/survey 2024. I'll pick up the survey results in a future episode, so thanks in anticipation for your assistance with this. Alright, some thoughts from the last episode. Well, the episode was titled, and not worry about, but there wasn't too much about the worrying thing, was there, which I'm going to address here. See, it's very easy to worry about photo editing, but if we start from the position that all we're trying to do is to make what we have look better, many of those worries should disappear. It takes away the pressure. What we're trying to do is turn good photos into great photos. That's our aim. All we're doing is making what we have look the best we can. So stop worrying about everything else and enjoy making your photos look better. Nice and simple when I put it like that, isn't it? All right, what's next? Get out and practice more but take fewer photos. Blimey, how can I possibly talk about this for 27 minutes? Well, my scriptures have no idea, but I've written the script for this one now, and I can go on about it for 27-ish minutes. I didn't think it'd be a problem, and it wasn't. Ask me a question for the Photography Explained podcast. If you got a question you'd like me to answer, just email me, sales@rickmcavoyphotography.co.uk, or head over to the podcast website, photographyexplainedpodcast.com. And while you're there, check out the questions page where there's a big old list of things you can choose from. And if you just want to say hi, say hi. It'd be lovely to hear from you. Talking of which, get a weekly email from me. Yeah, if you'd like to receive a weekly email from me where I tell you what I'm thinking about, fill out the form on the podcast website, and every Friday you'll get a lovely email from me. How utterly splendid. Right, I'm done. Well, this episode was brought to you by, not cheese on toast because that was the last episode. No, cheese sandwiches with bread from our local bakers, which is, it's not cheap to be honest with you, but it's very nice. Just cheese, no pickle, the bread's that nice. Which was washed down with some healthy water. Yep, still practicing that healthy living thing. What, with a cheese sandwich? I know. Pickle not required today. I think I'm regretting that a bit now. But you don't need to know that, do you? No, you don't. Which was consumed before I settled down in my homemade, acoustically cushioned recording emporium. I've been Rick McAvoy. Thanks again very much for listening to my small but perfectly formed podcast, it says here, and for giving me 27 minutes of your valuable time. Now, I reckon this episode's going to be 25 minutes long after I've edited out the mistakes and other bad stuff. Okay, see you on the next episode. Take care, stay safe. Cheers from me, Rick. My brand new course, How to Become a Real Estate Photographer, straight talking advice for beginners to get you making money quickly and build a career, is available to buy now. Find out more at rickmcavoyphotography.com/courses.